What's up, everybody? Majegs here, taking the day off of work, taking it easy today. I thought I would just hop on and do a little bit of recording, a little bonus video during my off week. I've been pretty excited about Hardspace Shipbreaker since it was first announced, but after being burned by a few early access games in my career, I've been kind of hesitating on purchasing anything, but it went full release this week. I decided to pick it up, 26 bucks, and so far it's been well worth the cost. In the game, you play as a salvage operator for a big old giant mega corporation that essentially runs Earth. It's up to you to basically take ships in, salvage them for their components and for their scrap in order to make your company money. Part of the big issue, of course, is that getting yourself from Earth into outer space racks up quite a bit of debt. You can see in the top right there, I've got just so much money that I need to pay back to the company because, of course, they were so kind as to do all the heavy lifting to get me out there at great cost to them, which is partially passed down onto me. So as a good old company man, I'm going to work my way through. I'm going to scrap ships, I'm going to salvage them, I'm going to earn my way up, and eventually, when I've paid off that debt, I'm going to go off and make my own salvage operation. Hopefully. Now, I'm trying something a little bit different today. I recorded this gameplay this morning, and then I went and grabbed myself some coffee, and I'm just sitting down, and I'm talking over it while I watch the footage again. That way, hopefully, I won't get distracted from playing the game, and I can just keep talking about what's going on. I'm using a clip today where I made quite a few mistakes during the salvage, so you can kind of see a little bit of both the excitement and the zen aspects of the game. This is kind of what it falls into. I normally don't love simulation games like, you know, Farming Sim or Euro Truck Simulator. All those games, I get bored pretty easily, to be honest with you. I like this one because I really like space games, and I really like that it's sort of a fantastical sim type game. So what I'm doing right now is I'm picking a ship to salvage. You can see across kind of what I'm doing is I'm scrolling through, and every ship is for a different purpose, was owned by a different company, and therefore will have different parts that can be salvaged. Now this one I haven't seen yet. It is an exolab, a research ship, and I was pretty excited about that, so I decided to hop on it. It has a hazard level of 5, which is fairly hazardous for my level at this point in the game. And so here we are. You have this little thing in front of you, this little terminal you can use to purchase new oxygen, fix your suit, or get tethers. You can see across the bottom there's my health, my suit, my fuel, and my oxygen levels. Those all are consumable and need to be purchased to refill. So one more way that the company keeps me in debt. Now I'm scanning as I approach the ship. The red bars and the green bars are telling me what is pressurized inside the ship. If I make an error and breach a pressurized compartment, that will cause uncontrolled depressurization, which is going to potentially damage me in my suit if I'm not holding on to something. So I'm going to hop in, I'm going to use the airlocks to actually get into the ship, and I'm going to find the atmospheric containment unit that's going to depressurize the whole ship so that I can salvage it without issue. I'm going to hop in, and one cool aspect of this game is that all of the ships kind of have their own story. There's the regulator, so I turn that off and it's going to start depressurizing the ship. So as you get on a ship, you know, it's a research vessel, but it also had crew on board, right? So maybe I'll find bottles or posters, art, snacks, toys, all kinds of things throughout the ship that kind of tell a story of who was on the ship and what they were doing, which I think is a really neat aspect, and it means you can always kind of tell your own story while you're playing the game. You can see it's very slow, very deliberate, because that's sort of how Zero-G is. I have these thrusters, but I gotta be careful with my thrusting and my moving around so I don't run into something too fast.
Could be you on there one day.
Taking a look out here at space, that big railgun is what sends things, ships through interstellar travel. But here I am, in my quaint salvage center. I'm the only person here. There are other salvage rings around that I can see through my windows and out in the kind of skybox of the game, but I'm the only one here operating on this one. So the first thing I normally try to do is find my way to the ship's reactor. That tends to be the most valuable component, but also a very volatile component. And of course I'm going to hit myself with a door on the way. That's always a good start. As you can see, my HUD is sort of getting finicky. That's usually the indicator that you're approaching the reactor. I'm going to try to get the door through the other doorway. It's going to get stuck. You can see I'm going to give it a really good effort, but not good enough, and it'll just slam through it. It'll be fine. Here I am. I thought the reactor would be back here. It wasn't. Instead, I'm just sort of back in the engine room at this point. So I turn on my scanner to see if it'll tell me where the reactor is. Right now, I don't spot anything. Those yellow things that you're seeing are all cut lines. So those are industrial, basically connectors that I can use a laser on to start separating the ship apart. The blue and the orange tell me if it's going to the processor or the furnace. So here I am starting to laser some of these things away. I'm thinking that the reactor is probably hidden behind some walls. So I'm going to just start making my way through those walls, and I'll salvage things sort of as I go. I need to create an opening that the reactor can quickly be salvaged, because as soon as I separate it from its housing, it's going to start a meltdown timer. And I don't want to be around when it melts down. So there are 3 different spots you send your salvage. There's that green thing I'm looking at. That's where reusable components go. So machines and monitors and seats and things can all go down there. And you can actually see when I hover over this big old antenna thing, there says processor, barge, and then the other one would be furnace. So things go into the blue processor if they can be, usually if they're not sort of raw material that needs to be melted down. They go into the furnace if it's like aluminum or it's scrap that I've destroyed accidentally, which will happen in this playthrough. So right now I'm separating these components that appear to be barge bound. I'm going to tether them together. Then I'm going to send that tether back down to the barge. And what that's going to do is start moving that piece for me so that I don't have to do it myself. The game loves to tell you that tethers are your friends because you can kind of make these chains of components that are going to make their way down. So you can see these 3 items were labeled barge. So I'm sending them down to the green barge. And as they make their way down there across the top, you can kind of see how that's sort of my scrap meter, my scrap success meter. The goal is always to get to 5, but from my experience, you're not really going to get there in the limited amount of time you have each day, each shift they call it. You can see I'm sending this thing over to the processor because it says I should send it to the processor. Ooh, try not to send it to the furnace. Ooh, ooh, you can do it, Ian. So this sort of grapple gun I have lets me sort of slingshot things around. Coming back in to see what I can see. I'm looking down kind of through the ship. Still looking for that reactor, still not exactly sure where it is. At some point I just cut my losses and I'm going to start scrapping some other things, knowing I'll eventually come across the reactor. Right now I'm removing this big metal piece from the kind of thruster assembly, and then I'm going to cut it off of the ship itself so that I can move it to the processor. There we go. Slam it into myself almost. Panic. Shoot it away from me. Yep. Always a good, strong move. Alright, you can see I'm sending it out with my tether, and I'm going to go over here. I'm going to aim it at the processor. I'm going to fire it away like a frisbee. And there it goes. Now here comes mistake number 1, folks. You can see I'm going to grab this thruster class 1, which should go to the barge. And for some reason, unknown to me, I'm going to launch it straight into the processor. And so you'll see the screen will say that I've destroyed a useful component and quite a bit of money as well. Here it comes. Bomp bomp. Destroyed thruster class 1 and a whole lot of money. What a whiff. What a mistake. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. You can see then I did a little double take like a cartoon. I'm going to pop over here. We've got these sort of utility arms. I'm just going to rip it right off the ship and just huck it down into the barge. Yeet. There it goes. Other one. Rip it, brother. There it goes. You can see I'm making my way up the salvage tree. I've got, a little bit. I found some O2 on the wall, which means I don't have to buy it from the company, which is great for me because I've already lost a lot of money. Well, I've lost a little bit of money. It's not going to be the end of the world. Because the fact of the matter is, when you owe, trillions of dollars, then what's $400,000 here and there? Am I right? Or am I right? I'm exploring a little bit more, trying to find the reactor, looking around. My HUD is getting all kinds of wonky. And bada boom, there it is. That is the class 1 reactor. So that is worth a good chunk of change, and I gotta get that out and into the barge before it melts down. So I'm gonna start figuring out how to make a hole in the ship to get that reactor out, which usually involves taking the outside plating on and seeing if I can sort of find a way to get it out. All right, so I'm just gonna keep lasering these things. I'll let it run here, take a sip of my coffee. One trick I love to use is just running into things to push them. So I've got this solar sail that needs to go down to the barge. Boop. Give it a little bop. And there it goes. Now, is there enough space? I don't love that. There's not a great angle there, so I'm going to try to keep removing things from the ship. What I'm going to likely have to do is actually cut away some of the metal in order to sever this other solar sail. You can see, or I messed it up and I just couldn't figure it out. That's all. There are many options. A couple cut points here. And then I'm thinking that it's going to push away, so I run into it. It doesn't go anywhere. So could it be that it's too heavy? Yes. Could it be that it's still attached to the ship? Certainly. So that's the easiest solution, so I'm going to start there by hitting more of the cut points just to see if anything is going to separate away. Still not having a lot of luck here. I'm going to keep moving my way out on these cut points and just see if, I'm missing something. It's basically free to do these cut points. It just takes time and a little bit of durability from the laser. But, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge cost to me. I mean, honestly, it's a video game, so really does anything cost anything? Like I said, because I'm so crippled in debt, it just does not matter how I spend my money at this point. It's all chump change compared to what I owe. So here I go again, trying to push it with my body. No such luck. My thrusters are only so good after all. So I think, okay, well, maybe it's too heavy. Take a look at what's out here. So I've got this solar sail as well as kind of a communications array. I'm just going to try to send it down there and see if the tether is strong enough to rip it off the ship. And it turns out, it is. However, it's bringing some stuff with it. You can see basically the entire wall of the ship is being removed, which I don't love. I want to grab that and send the blue stuff to the processor and let the gray stuff go down to the barge. So how am I going to do that? Well, folks, here's where the wheels start to fall off. I've never done one of these Exo Labs, and maybe it's a little bit different of a layout, but I should know better. I found a power cell. I'm going to grab it, try to send it through that window, zap. Not a good start. Not a good start at all. So now I've been zapped. Let's try it with a light. Okay, that worked fine. Okay, so now this is not great. Now things are electrified, which hurts me. Then I say forget it. I'm just going to rip the reactor off. It's going to blow up, hit me in the face. I'm going to panic. I'm going to launch it down towards the barge. For some reason, it starts to move a little bit. I grab it, send it again. Okay. Somehow I've blown up enough of the ship that I've lost my salvage goal 5, but the reactor's on its way down. And there we go. A huge chunk of my salvage goal fulfilled. All right. So now what I'm dealing with is an electrified ship, which isn't good. So I take that off. It just blows up again. Really, now I'm just panicking. I don't know what to do. I'll grab a light and send that down there. I don't know, man. So I know that I need to stop this power. Right? So I'm going to start cutting away at some cables. Bada boom. Cut away at some more cables. I know that, power can't transfer if the cables aren't there to transfer it. So let's just try to do that. Try to isolate this power cell. You can see that it's still going, so I'm going to cut away the bottom of this power cell. Hope it doesn't blow up. I'm going to grab it. It doesn't blow up this time, which is great news for me. I'm going to launch that down to the barge. Okay. So I've dealt a little bit with my electricity issue. I'm going to try to figure out how to sever the solar sail from the blue stuff. I'm going to grab out my laser gun. It's got 2 different settings. It has both sort of a point laser called the Stinger as well as this sort of saw. And I'm thinking, hey, I can just saw this. Hey, folks, don't laser saw your communications arrays because that just turned it directly into scrap. So that's another mistake I made. So what used to be something valuable for the barge is now just going to go to the furnace. But I got the solar sail off, so it's not a total loss for me. So I'm hoping I don't get fired for that. You can see my tether's going to take that away. I'm really at this point. There were lights and stuff I could salvage off there, but I'm just panicking. The character gives a thumbs up, so ain't no problem. You can really see that the ship took quite the explosion when I ripped that reactor off. So a lot of this ship I'm writing off as a loss. I'm hardly even going to make to the 4th salvage. I'll send the thruster over. I don't know, man. I'm running out of oxygen. That That nose cap almost doesn't even make it. And then what I did was I said, I'm gonna check and see how things are going. But first, okay, come on. Yep, there it goes. Better rip some things off. It didn't work for me. At least I got a sticker, I guess, for getting zapped. But I say I'm gonna check out and see how things are doing. I'm running low on oxygen. If I find an oxygen tank, I'll keep going. But this ship is just in shambles. And then for some reason I decided to laser some things. You know, you got a laser, you're gonna use a laser. That's just the way it goes. But then I decided I'm flying through debris. There's just so much trash here that I've really messed up. Maybe it's better if I just cut my losses. If I bump into that, cut another thing, even though I already have my heart set. I'm leaving. This is a total loss. So check out this move. What's really funny is you don't actually have to use your thrusters because you can fire your tether and then retract it and set yourself going way too fast. I'm not great at thrust vectoring myself, especially with a single tether. So you can see I'm really running low on oxygen right now. I have to get to the terminal, refill my oxygen. I do make it. I do get my oxygen just by the skin of my teeth, and then I leave. And that's sort of what salvaging is like in this game. That one had a little more excitement than normal. Here you can see all the things I destroyed, which just feels bad. But I did rank up, so I got that going for me. And oftentimes when you rank up, that's when the game starts to reveal some other story points. There is a running storyline about how the Lynx megacorp is basically exploiting workers and employees, and how there's an attempt to unionize, but it's using the company-wide email servers. And so there's a little bit of here and there about it. So I'm not going to reveal too much about what's being shown, but this is sort of a story beat that is being kind of deployed. I'll probably either skip through it or I'll just keep talking over the top. I've been really enjoying Hardspace Shipbreaker as just sort of a chill, deliberate game. You know, it's fun to play Overwatch, it's fun to play Warzone, it's fun to play these games that make you sweaty, but sometimes it's also nice to just hang out, float around in space. You know, I've been finishing up Season 5 of Better Call Saul on my other screen while I'm playing. All in all, if you're interested in Hardspace Shipbreakers, if this video made you more interested, I would definitely pick it up. It's pretty cheap at 26 bucks as of time of recording, especially for what you're getting, which is a good amount of gameplay and a decent amount of replayability as well. Hoping to see a lot more come through as far as kind of story goes, and I know there are a lot of ships still to unlock. I'm level 7 and there are 30 levels, and every few levels you unlock some new ships to salvage. Folks, if you've listened all the way through here, I appreciate you. I appreciate you listening. Just thought I would throw down a nice little chill video on this Friday. If you enjoyed this, I'd love a like, love a comment. Let me know if you'd like to see more stuff like this where I just kind of sort of talk over, give my just running thoughts, running commentary on games I'm playing. If you really enjoyed it, you could even subscribe for more content. This isn't my primary thing. Usually I do a scripted video about why I recommend specific games for busy people. Hardspace Shipbreakers is going to make it eventually. I've got a few other in the tank still. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Majegs out.